the good fortune to be on the world's largest, busiest seaplane base, 90,000 operations a year. On the water here, you've got 3 water runways that intersect right in front of the turf runway on the north side, and that's what the tower controls. And it's one of the few tower control seaplane bases in the world. And anybody that wants to walk and go into the old tower cap up there, that's the 51 years, that was the tower cap to Merrill Field downtown. And it gives you a commanding view of the floatplane operations on these lakes. And you've also got a live feed of the actual tower. You can listen to the traffic in real time. But like I said, that was for 51 years. That was the tower cab for Merrill Field. So that's kind of a neat thing to do. A couple of stories in the meantime. On the other side of this beach on floats, that old PBY over there, the one that's in, looks like it's in pretty rough shape. A couple of interesting things about that. The first one is, of course, is that unlike most PBYs from World War II that were Navy, that one's Army. And it was not only Army, it was the General's plane. And the way it got here was a few members of the General's crew decided they would take what would be called an unauthorized hunting trip. And they took that plane out and they threw a rod at the starboard engine while en route. And they came over a big lake, which would be great to land in and take care of the airplane. The only problem was, even though the lake was huge, it was actually, kind of shallow. Where you got a 5-foot draft on that airplane, you had about a 3-foot lake. And so it was the same as grounding it. It sat there. The Army couldn't get it out. They sold it to an 18-year-old pilot here in Anchorage, a fellow by the name of Fred Richards. And he was a Super Cub pilot, but they sold it to him for $58, but he couldn't get it out any more than anybody else could, so he sold the engines to somebody to recoup his money, and then eventually in 1984 turned that airplane over to the museum here, and we went out under an exercise with the National Guard and slung it under a sky crane and brought it in that way. So that was the genesis of this museum.
I know the pilot.
And she knows Fred Richards. He's 83 now. He comes around every once in a while.
I know Freddie Richardson, and I know the pilot that...
The sky crane pilot.
The sky crane pilot. He was my boss in the FAA for a while.
Now, just a little bit on the lakes itself. You've got 2 lakes here. This is Lake Hood. It runs a half a mile north and south. Over here, you've got Lake Spenard. It's a half a mile lake running east and west, and they're about a half a mile apart. And in 1939, as the airplanes got bigger and bigger and they couldn't get off with the payloads, a fellow, a miner by the name of Ernest Dunkel, decided that he needed to connect these two and to give everybody a longer runway. Of course, it was exacerbated by the fact that this lake was about 3 inches or 4 inches higher than that lake level. So when he did finally cut the ditch through, channel, it went over and it kind of flooded part of that side over there. But when I was a kid, it was very narrow and steel lined down here. The tower used to sit down here on the channel. And now the tower shares facilities with the Anchorage Tower, so they can save some money. But now you've got 2 channels. One on the south side is the original channel, the runway and high-speed taxiway. The one on the north is a slow-speed taxiway with mooring fingers in it. That pretty much concludes everything that I've got. Ruth is here to answer questions. Clay's here to answer questions, as I am. We'd like to encourage everybody to, if you want, to spend some time in the gift store and see what we have there. And anything that you buy in the gift store, of course, helps us go to achieve our mission. Thank you.